What's going on, guys? My name is Ben, or known as Bando by others. Today I'm making a buyer's guide video for the Grand Prix GTP. I figured I'd make this video. I feel like I've owned my GTP long enough to make a video about what to look out for and what to expect with these cars. I think it's a pretty underrated platform. Not a biased opinion. They're being more known as underground tuners nowadays, which they very much are so. Underground tuners. I personally love mine. I don't regret my purchase. And I think it's a great bang for your buck vehicle for what you get. I think it's a pretty solid option considering what these go for. And yeah, I would like to start off by saying I am not a know-it-all. I don't know everything about these. I'm just going to list off what I know, what I've gone through, and what I know. Yeah, let's just get straight into it. The first thing I am going to mention is the rear strut tower rust. There will be filler, like you see here. It'll look like a bead, but it's not. It's just a fill where the gap is. You're gonna want to look around here, around where the filler is. These things are pretty common for having rear strut tower issues. Halfway through 2001, they did fix the issue. So if you are looking at a 2001, look at the data plate on the door. It'll tell you 06 of 01. After that, they did fix this. But if you're not inside the salt belt like I am, you don't really have to worry about this. But if you are in the Midwest, in the Salt Belt, I would recommend peeling back the trunk carpet and looking at the passenger and the driver's side rear strut towers. Because more than likely, if you are in the Salt Belt, this is going to be something you are going to want to look at. I mean, something like this. Mine slightly looks like this, but it's not as bad. It's nothing I'm too worried about. I'll tell you one thing, though. Mine will not see another winter. And that's just how it's going to be. I'm not driving it in the winter because I would like to keep this car around for quite a while. Like, yeah, something like this is something you're going to really look out for. Something like this. If you see something like this, I want to. If you're okay with getting it fixed, then that's fine. You can negotiate on the price. Be like, hey man, the driver's side rear strut tower is rusting through. I'll give you this amount instead of what you were asking. I wouldn't necessarily say this should deter you from buying it, but it's not great. This is usually what it will look like, but if it's seen many winters, it will be worse. I had a friend of mine get a 2000 GTP from someone who got sick, and the guy ended up just giving it to him, and he was like, hey, can you come over, take a look at this, tell me what this is worth, like if it's worth putting some money into. And this is the first thing I looked for, believe it or not. And yeah, both sides were shot. And I was like, man, this is not really worth putting too much money into. I told him at that point, you're going to have new strut towers welded in. I mean, if you have the skills to weld in new strut towers and go for it, man. And like, but then again, not everyone has that skill. I mean, I don't. But yeah, if you have the skill, then go for it. Buy a $600 GTP and weld in some new rear strut towers. If you can find clean ones, then go for it, man. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, a repair is a repair as long as it works, and that's awesome. Good to go. But yeah, this is definitely something to look out for. I would say 97 to halfway through 2001, you're going to want to look at this when you're going to look at a GTP. This is pretty common, actually. I'm very lucky to have my strut towers in pretty good condition for being a Midwestern car. So, yeah, I'm going to move along from this. I am going to talk about the special editions. These special editions, there's a handful of them, but there's no performance gain getting a special edition GTP. It really just comes down to trim level. Like as you can see here in the 40th, you got like the burgundy red trim, the shift handle burgundy. Like it's just like more accent colors inside the interior, or like a spoiler, or like you get the roof rails as well. Those are pretty desirable parts. People like here, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. These roof rails right here, people like these on them. And then here's the 40th anniversary spoiler. These taillights are aftermarket though, but you get the 40th anniversary wheels. Yeah, and that's really it. I mean, you're not getting like a better transmission or a better 3800 motor or a better supercharger or with like a smaller pulley. When it comes to the powertrain on these across the board, they are all the same on the GTPs. It really just comes down to trim. Same with the 98 Daytona 500, which I really like. I love the blue. I'm a blue guy. It's my favorite color. I hope to get one of these one day because me personally, I just like them. Another thing with the special editions, from my knowledge, I'm not sure if this is correct, but these special editions do come with these front license plate covers that fit into the bumper, which is a pretty desirable part I've been seeing. I actually want to get one for myself. I don't like, in Illinois, you're supposed to have a front plate, but I don't. It's just ugly. I don't want a front plate on my car, to be honest with you. But this is kind of a bad example for a Daytona 500 because I do believe these are GTX wheels. It'll look more something like this, like a Daytona 500. It's just a trim package, There's no interior pictures here. I'm not sure what. Oh, I guess this is the interior right here, 98. Yeah, it's just, I mean, you get the like 1 of 500 badge right here, right next to the shifter, which is cool. But yeah, when it comes to these, it's just a Daytona 500. Nothing, like I said, across the board for the powertrain. This is all the same. But it is a cool car. I do like the 98. This is a aftermarket hood. I think that's a SLP hood, I believe. Ram Air hood, which is pretty cool. I want to get one of those myself for mine. Let's see here. But yeah, this should be like normal hood for these and whatnot. Here's a 2000 Grand Prix GTP Daytona 500, which I do personally own one of these. There's really no difference between any of these special editions and just a base GTP. But yeah, on the 2000, it does come with the special edition hood, which the 40th anniversary also shares, and the special edition also shares. I think the special edition was in 2003. I think that's the only year you can get a special edition. That's literally what it's called. It's not like a Daytona 500. It's just called a special edition, you know. But yeah, I unfortunately don't have this. It's got a different bumper on it. Mine got in a little fender bender before I got it, so there's some things I'm missing. But I did get the hood. The hood on mine looked very ugly when I first got it, and I did manage to pick up one of these hoods off of a special edition. Actually, it's not a genuine Daytona 500 hood. It did come off of a special edition, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing, you know. There was only 1 to 2,000 of these made, so I mean, I had to, you know, take what I could get, you know. So to me, it don't matter if it's a genuine Daytona 500 hood; it's still the same thing, you know. It's got these little vents on it and all that good stuff. But yeah, these special editions and whatnot. The GTX is the most desirable, in my opinion. I really do like the GTX. It's got the full SLP trim on it. It's got the Ram Air hood. It has the SLP spoiler, which is very desirable. It's got the GTX wheels. Let's see here. Yeah, these are the GTX wheels here, which I actually do like a lot. But if someone's charging a premium for a GTX, that is understandable. Like, me personally, I would overpay for a GTX just because, I mean, the hood and the spoiler alone are worth at least $1,000, and it's they're pretty hard to come by too, honestly. But for any of these special editions, I mean, they are desirable, don't get me wrong, but not that much to the point where you need to overpay a lot of money for them. I got my Daytona 500 for $2,300. So, I mean, if you want a specific GTP, you know, it's your money. You do what you want with it. But me personally, I wouldn't like pay a lot over like Kelly Blue Book. I mean, honestly, screw Kelly Blue Book. I mean, that's all BS anyways. You're going to pay for a car because you want it. You know, at the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to. So, yeah, enough with the special edition talk. My conclusion on that is pay what you want, but don't overpay just because don't overpay too much is what I'm saying, because there's really no difference between a base GTP and like a special edition. It's really just the trim. That's all it is. And you can always get a base GTP and hunt down like one of these spoilers. I have one of these, and I do like it. You can go find one of these. You can go find a special edition hood, and you know. But yeah, do it at your own discretion. I mean, there's really no difference. That's basically what I'm saying. But another thing I would like to mention when looking at a GTP, the 4T65 HD is not the best transmission, right? In the 3800 community, well, not the 3800 community. Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, between the W body community, we all know the 4T65 HD is just not the best transmission. I made the mistake of when I bought mine, the Daytona 500. I didn't take it on a thorough test drive, and I was driving it back from Indianapolis, and I noticed I had no fourth gear. So I ended up having to put in a new transmission pretty much right after I bought it. So not mad. I'm me personally. I'm not mad at the guy. I think it was an older gentleman. I think he had Alzheimer's because his daughter came with and was helping him, do all the paperwork and was kind of like chaperoning like the whole transaction, which was cool. That's a good daughter right there. Um, but I give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, the car sat for a while. Um, you know, um, it is what it is. It's fixed now. Everything's good. But I would highly recommend taking it on a thorough test drive and going through all the gears. The 4T65HD is a 4-speed automatic transmission, so go out there on the highway, get up in speed, feel each gear, see if it feels off or anything, let it downshift, let the transmission warm up. That's why I say a 15-minute test drive, because also too, some people are a little shady when it comes to vehicles. They will clear the codes beforehand and whatnot. So that's why I recommend a 15-minute drive, because you drive it for 15 minutes, those codes that are actually there, they're going to come back and you'll see it. And definitely bring a scanner when you do go look really at any vehicle. It doesn't go for just GTPs. It's really just goes for any vehicle. When I bought mine, I was like 19, 20. I'm 22 now. So, yeah, I was young. I didn't know as much as I know now. So, there could be a younger person watching this, and I hope my info does help you and what to do when looking at one of these. Bring a scanner. The transmission could feel weird too, because the shift solenoids do like to go out on these. It's a pretty common issue, and it's fairly easy to fix if you have like a slight mechanical aptitude. I mean, you will figure it out. I highly encourage people to wrench on their own vehicles and figure it out and learn, instead of taking it to the mechanic because it's too hard. Me personally, I just don't believe in that. I feel like you should accept the challenge and figure it out. There's a lot of information on the internet nowadays. You can definitely figure it out, and don't get frustrated. Things aren't always gonna go your way. Just just have patience. That's all it really comes down to. Things take time, and working on cars takes time. So there's that. Watch out for the transmissions. Make sure you do a thorough test drive. Bring a scanner. And don't let shift solenoids deter you, because they are fairly easy to fix. And it is a pretty common issue with these. So, yeah, don't let shift solenoids deter you. It's pretty common. But, yeah. Also, I would highly recommend a shift kit and trans cooler for these transmissions if you want to get some longevity out of them, because they aren't the best, like I said. And just drive your car responsibly, and you should be fine. A lot of people hate on these cars because, the transmissions are glass and stuff like that. I mean, if you take care of your vehicle and you drive it respectfully, you will be fine. It's nothing to be like, these transmissions suck, I'm not buying one of these. But one of the great things about these too is that the transmissions are pretty cheap too. I mean, if you do want to swap another 4T65 in there, there's also other swaps you can do. You can do a 4T80 swap, which takes a good bit of work. There's a lot of stuff that does go with a 4T80 swap. The 4T80, I'm not exactly sure what it comes out of. I think maybe like a Cadillac, but I do know the Bonneville GXP does have the 4T80, so maybe that's where people are getting those transmissions from, like a part out Bonneville GXP, and they're grabbing the 4T80 out of it. But to make those work in these, that is a good bit of work. There also is a 5-speed manual option, the GetRag F23, which you can do, which I have plans on doing here very soon, within the next year. It's pretty much a plug and play type of swap. You know, you gotta figure out your shifter and clutch pedal, but other than that, the 5-speed swap on these is fairly simple. You gotta do axles as well, but I think it's worth it, man. I got a Saturn Ion with the transmission I need to do a 5-speed swap on one of these, so I've been dailing it, learning stick shift. It's my first stick car, and now that I have actually driven stick shift, I like it. It feels like I'm one with my car. Like, I feel like I'm in full control and I'm fully operating it, and I like that, and I want that in my Grand Prix. I think it'd be a pretty cool swap, and it'll really give that sense of operating your vehicle, you know, like you're the one driving it. There's nothing automated going on doing stuff for you, you know. So that's why I'm personally going to go with a 5-speed swap. But you don't need to do all these swaps. If you just drive your car right, it'll treat you right. And I believe in that. Yeah, when you are also buying one of these, just do a full inspection. Look at everything. Axle boots, tie rods, ball joints, sway bar, rear sway bar, shocks, all that good stuff. Because, you know, these cars are older now. You know, they're unless if someone took like immaculate care of their GTP, there's going to be stuff wrong with it. And, you know, you do a full inspection, you can really look at it, tell what's wrong with it, and be like, hey, this front sway bar is bad. You can finagle the price and get a good deal on one, which is a good thing. You know, you don't want to... Like I said earlier, these are very good bang for your buck cars. So if you can get a good deal on one, they're great. Like, I stand on it. I think these are a great bang for your buck underground tuner car. They're factory supercharged. Yeah, they might be front wheel drive V6 supercharged, but you know, it's still a fun car. They handle great too. Like, I've driven, when I first got mine, I drove it in the snow. Just, man, I drove through tons of snow and was fine. I've gone 100+ miles per hour on the highway in pouring rain. Not that it's a flex, knocking on wood. I'm in a hydroplane. There is such thing called driver mod. I'm a fairly good driver, I'd say. Don't do that though. I don't condone any of that. I do it because I know I can. But yeah, these cars honestly handle very great. Especially if you do suspension upgrades, get you a nice sway bar under there, tie rods, you know, good alignment. They handle very well. If there's anything else I missed about these cars, because you know everyone runs into their own problems and whatnot, feel free to leave it in the comments, because I'm the type of person where I watch like buyer's guide or a video about a car. I like to read the comments, see what other people are saying. So yeah, feel free to leave a comment on stuff you've ran into on these other common problems. Another thing, when you do look, listen to the supercharger, listen for tick in the motor. I mean, the 3800s are phenomenal motors. The L67 is the best 3800 to buy. I mean, they do have lower intake gasket issues, which is another thing to look for. See, if you look under the supercharger at the lower intake manifold, you'll see the gasket, and if there's oil around there, you need to do the lower intake gasket, which is pretty common on the Series 2 3800, the L67. I mean, across the board for honestly all Series 2 3800s. it's a fairly easy fix. You can leave the supercharger on the lower intake. Just pull the whole intake and supercharger off as one, and just redo the gasket. It's fairly easy. Although that's another common issue I forgot to touch base on is the lower intake gaskets. You'll more than likely have to do it. I'm doing mine, or still working on it. I'm getting my supercharger and everything ready, and lower intake ready, and before I do the gasket. So yeah, definitely look out for those lower intake gaskets. The coolant elbows going to the lower intake as well. If you look where the snout of the supercharger and the pulley is, you will see those elbows going into the lower intake gasket. They're junk. You're going to want to go on ZZ Performance and get you some aluminum coolant elbows. That's also another thing I forgot to touch base on. See, like I said, I might be missing some things, so feel free to, leave it down in the comments. Give future buyers of GTPs just a little heads up, like, hey, you're going to want to look out for this and whatnot. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Lower intake gasket, coolant elbows. Other than that, they're pretty solid, and the transmissions, but I covered that earlier. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching, and this is my buyer's guide on a GTP. I genuinely think it is a solid platform, and that's not a biased take on it. I mean, it's got great aftermarket support, ZZ Performance. Their motto is literally go fast, not broke. So not only are you getting the best bang for your buck supercharged car, you're also getting the best bang for your buck when it comes to aftermarket support. So, I mean, the parts are fairly cheap. Modding it's fairly cheap. Not cheap in a bad way. Like, it's still quality stuff. By ZZP and AC Delco and OEM GM parts, like everything's fairly cheap and pretty quality. I think it's a great platform to get started on when it comes to a tuner vehicle. Yeah, I mean, this is really a buyer's guide for anyone. You could be a young kid looking to just get something unique and cool and something not everyone has anymore. You don't, well, in the Midwest at least, you don't really see these anymore because people didn't really take care of them. They rusted out. Or you could just be an older, well, no disrespect, but you could be an older guy in your 40s, and like these were cool cars to have like back in your early 20s or even back in high school. And you could be, well, like more established in life, be like, hey, these things have really dropped in price since new, and they're still pretty cool. Maybe I could pick one up for $3,000 to $5,000, or even cheaper than that. I mean, you can always find a great deal on one of these. Honestly, you just got to find the right deal and find one that's in the right condition and things like that. So this video really goes just for anyone who's looking to get one, man. I mean, they're fun. You definitely hear the supercharger, especially if you hear, especially if you get the Gen 5 Eaton M90, which I am upgrading to. And that's another cool thing. You can go to the junkyard and get one of those off the Series 3 3800 fairly easily. You just got to look. Usually how I snipe those, I'll go on the websites of my local junkyards. Now, before I go there, I'll really look at the pictures. A good way to tell if it's a Series 3 supercharged is in the middle, kind of here. Let me show you. Let's see. Interior on this. But by the shifter, you'll see something that says tap shift, and that's that's a pretty good giveaway that it is a Series 3 GTP. And then you can be like, all right, they got one of these here. Because they don't always have the hood open. You can't always like zoom in and see the supercharger. But for me, a dead giveaway is it saying tap shift. That's a good indicator that it is a GTP, and it does have the Gen 5 Eaton M90 on it. Rarely do I see GXPs at the junkyard, but it will say GXP on the side, and then you'll be able to know like, hey, it's a GXP Grand Prix. That doesn't even have a V6. It's got the LS4 in it and whatnot. So, yeah, if you just look at the center console on the Series 3, like right here, it'll say tap shift. Anywhere where the shifter is on the 04 to 08, I believe, the Series 3 3800 was a thing for the Grand Prix. It'll say tap shift somewhere right in here. It'll be a pretty clear indicator that it is a GTP. And you'll go there, get your supercharger. You can always rebuild them too. Instead of buying the pulley puller from ZZP, I just went ahead and bought a shop press. I thought it was more worth my while because not only can you get the pulley off with those, you can also push pretty much everything out of there that you need to get out of there to rebuild it. So I just thought it was a better move to make. If you got the garage space, just get a shop press when it comes to messing with the superchargers, either rebuilding them, redoing the seals. That's, in my opinion, I think it's the better way to go instead of buying the $130 pulley puller, when you can go to Harbor Freight and spend $180 and get everything you like, a whole shop press. You can rebuild a supercharger. So I thought it was a better move to make. No hate on ZZ. I'm a kid balling on a budget, so I thought it was a better move to make. But yeah, I mean, don't be scared to go get some stuff at the junkyard, man. One man's trash is another man's gold when it comes to this platform, honestly. I've actually found a lot of cool pieces off like special editions and stuff at the junkyard, like a spoiler, some mirrors. Even found some, I think they're called SLP headers, something like that. Found some headers. You can really find some stuff at the junkyard. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going to the junkyard, man. I mean, a lot of people don't like it because, it's a junkyard. But you can really find some treasure there, man. I found tons of treasure there. It's like a big kid's playground for me. So that's another cool thing about the 3800 platform. You can find stuff for them at the junkyard, like upgrades, spoilers, like stuff that you can't go on eBay and really look for. I mean, you can go on eBay and look for them and probably get them, but it's more fun at the junkyard, you know? So, yeah, I mean, this platform's cool, in my honest opinion. There's a lot you can do with it for not a whole lot of money. Make it cool, unique. Yeah, I think that's going to conclude my buyer's guide. I appreciate you guys watching, and happy hunting for a good deal on a GTP, because one day they're not really going to be around to buy, because everyone kind of realized that these things are pretty cool, and then everyone's going to start selling them for 10-15 grand, and then, you know, get them while they're hot. You know, these things are pretty cool. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys.